Jack Rourke has spent years burying the life he left behind. Quiet mornings, small-town routines, and a promise to never look back. But when the fragile peace he's built begins to crack, the shadows of his past come rushing in. With time running out and no one to trust, Jack must confront the man he once was, to protect the one thing that still matters. Hello family, welcome to Storytime with Imzi. Please subscribe and like, it means the world to us. Also share this video to your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. The kettle whistled. Jack Rourke turned off the stove with a flick of his wrist and poured hot water into a chipped ceramic mug. The smell of instant coffee filled the small kitchen, mixing with the faint scent of pancakes on the griddle. The place was quiet, save for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant chatter of birds outside the window. Peaceful. Almost normal. He glanced at the wall clock. 7:12 a.m. "Rita," he called, not loudly but firmly, his voice the kind that doesn't repeat itself. From upstairs, a groggy mumbled "coming" filtered down the hallway, followed by the shuffle of slippered feet. A moment later, Rita appeared, 10 years old, curly hair tangled from sleep, still tugging on a hoodie 2 sizes too big. Her mismatched socks padded softly across the linoleum floor. "Pancakes?" she asked, yawning midword. "You expected caviar?" Jack said, pouring syrup over a short stack. She smiled at him, still sleepy, still innocent, and climbed into the high-backed kitchen chair. He watched her eat, eyes scanning the front yard through the window, noting the blue sedan that always parked across the street, the dog walker who passed by at the same time every morning, the jogger with the neon vest and predictable rhythm. All routine. All accounted for. "Why do you always stare outside like that?" Rita asked between bites. Jack sipped his coffee. "Habit." Rita rolled her eyes. "You're so weird." He smiled faintly, hiding the twitch of muscle in his jaw. She didn't know. She couldn't know. The years he'd spent trying to carve a life out of quiet, hiding his hands, the things they'd done, the people they'd ended from this new world. From her world. "Bus will be here in 5, he said, checking the time again. "You brushed your teeth?" Rita nodded, mouthful of syrupy pancake. "Both rows," he pressed. She made a face. "Yes, both." Jack stood, grabbed his jacket, and picked up her backpack from beside the door. He checked the zipper without thinking, then handed it to her. Muscle memory. Always checking. Always ready. They stepped outside. The morning air was crisp, the sky cloudless. A couple of kids were already at the corner, waiting. Jack walked her all the way down, as he always did, never letting her go alone, no matter how much she protested that she wasn't a baby. As they reached the bus stop, Rita looked up at him, squinting in the sunlight. "Are you going to pick me up after school?" Jack gave a small nod. "Like always." The bus pulled up, yellow and loud. Rita climbed aboard, waving over her shoulder. Jack stood there, watching until the bus turned the corner and disappeared from view. He waited another minute, just in case. Then he turned around, walked back to the house, and locked the door behind him. The call came at 9:04 a.m. Jack had just finished hosing down the driveway, his shirt damp with sweat, a cigarette burning low between 2 fingers. The phone rang on the kitchen counter, his real phone, the one with nothing to hide. No burner. No encryption. Just Rita's school, his mechanic, and a local pizza joint in the contact list. He wiped his hands on a towel before answering. "Mr. Rourke." A woman's voice, too calm, too rehearsed. "Yes. This is Ms. Danner from Hawthorne Elementary. We noticed Rita wasn't in her homeroom this morning, and we just wanted to confirm. Was she marked out today?" Jack stared at the countertop. A faint buzzing filled his ears. "She got on the bus," he said. Voice steady. Too steady. A pause. Shuffling papers. "We checked the manifest. She wasn't on when it arrived." He didn't hang up. He just set the phone down quietly on the counter. Then he moved. Not panic, precision. The back door slammed behind him as he crossed the yard in long strides. He reached the corner where he'd left her 2 hours ago. No one was there. The kids were long gone. The sun was higher now, less forgiving. He scanned the sidewalk. The grass. The gutter. Then he saw it. A pink shoelace, frayed, untied, just lying in the dirt near the curb. Rita's. The left one. He recognized the double loop she always botched. He knelt and picked it up, his hand curling into a fist around the laces. A few feet away, something else caught his eye. Her backpack, dumped behind a bush. Still zipped. He unzipped it slowly, like defusing a bomb. Inside, her water bottle, math book, pencil case. Untouched. Jack's breath left him in a slow, measured exhale. Not random. Not a runaway. This was deliberate. Surgical. Someone took her. He stood there for a moment, silent. The quiet suburban street around him. Lawns trimmed, flags fluttering, dogs barking down the block, kept playing its loop, oblivious. But Jack was gone. Not physically, but mentally. The old doors creaked open, and something cold stepped through. He turned, walked back to the house, and locked the door behind him. Again. But this time, it wasn't to keep something out. It was to keep something in. The storage unit was 22 miles from Jack's house, behind a rusted-out gas station off the old highway. No cameras. No curious eyes. Just long-forgotten sheds lined up like coffins waiting to be opened. Unit C-17. He'd paid for it in cash every 6 months, under a dead man's name. Jack knelt in front of the lock, brushed the dust from the dial. His fingers moved automatically, spinning, clicking, unlocking muscle memory. The door groaned open. The light inside was dim, but the air smelled exactly like he remembered. Cold metal, rubber, old oil, and the distant scent of dried blood. There it was. The duffel bag. He pulled it out and unzipped it. A matte black Glock 19. A compact Beretta tucked beneath a folded ballistic vest. 2 burner phones, still sealed in plastic. A roll of crisp cash, euros, yen, dollars. A single combat knife with a bone handle, initials carved crudely into the side JR. He stared at it for a moment. Not nostalgia. Just acceptance. The man who packed this bag never really left. Jack stripped down in the dim light and began the transformation. Shaved the beard. Cut the hair with a battery trimmer. Washed his face in a cracked mirror bolted to the far wall. It was like peeling away a mask he'd worn for a decade. Underneath was someone harder. Colder. Someone the world had tried to forget. He changed clothes, black cargo pants, worn combat boots, a faded charcoal Henley that clung to his frame like body armor. He looked up at the mirror. His eyes, clear and sharp now, stared back with one message. You took the wrong girl. He snapped one of the burner phones open and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. 3 rings. Then a voice cautious, gravelly. Hello? Need a name, Jack said. Rita's gone. This morning. I'm betting someone made a call in or out of state lines between 7 and 9. Someone who knew what they were doing. A long pause. Jesus, Jack. I thought you were. Dead. I was. Now I'm not. Another beat of silence. Then, give me 2 hours. Jack ended the call without saying goodbye. He didn't believe in goodbyes anymore. He packed everything into the trunk of the sedan and shut it softly, like sealing a tomb. On the drive back, his face didn't move. No panic. No grief. Just stillness, coiled like a blade in the dark. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack Rourke wasn't a father anymore. He was a ghost on the warpath. Jack sat in the driver's seat of the old sedan, parked beneath the skeletal shadow of a half-collapsed overpass. He hadn't moved in 20 minutes. The burner phone buzzed in the console beside him. 1 buzz. Then 2. Then silence. He picked it up. A single message. Black cell. East sector. She's leverage. No name. No location. Just confirmation. Enough to light the fuse. Jack crushed the phone in one hand and tossed it out the window. He started with a low-level dealer named Luis Ortega, a mid-tier runner with ties to the eastern seaboard gun trade. Guys who never moved unless someone with power told them to. Jack found him in the back of a pool hall in North Jersey, surrounded by bad tattoos and worse decisions. No words. No questions. Jack dragged him into the alley and beat the truth out of his mouth. Clean, efficient, bone-snapping truth. Luis talked after the second rib cracked. Black cell, he wheezed, blood bubbling on his lip. They've been building muscle. New boss. Cold Russian type. Imports people, not just weapons. She's running operations out of a warehouse in Red Hook. Jack wiped his hands on Luis's shirt and left him gasping in the trash. By midnight, he had eyes on the compound. The Red Hook warehouse was lit like a fortress. Motion sensors, armored SUVs, cameras rotating every 7 seconds. Amateurs made fortresses. Professionals made traps. This was a trap. But Jack didn't walk into traps. He dismantled them. He waited, studied patterns, tracked shift changes, counted men, memorized routes. The patience wasn't new, it was instinct. He was already inside the rhythm of their world. Already one step ahead. When the moment came, it wasn't loud. 2 guards outside, taken out in silence. One strangled, one stabbed beneath the jaw, quick and clean. He dragged the bodies behind a stack of crates, grabbed a security badge, and slid through the side door like smoke. Inside, it was colder than expected. Long rows of steel containers. Desks lit with monitors. Laughter in the distance. Men comfortable in their control. Jack moved between shadows, listening. Watching. Then he heard it. A name. Whispered in passing by 2 smug bastards with rifles and too much swagger. Kira wants him dead. She's playing this long game. Using the kid like bait. Jack froze. Kira. He hadn't heard that name in years. Last time he did, he was covered in someone else's blood and walking away from a burning car outside Prague. She was supposed to be dead. He watched the building collapse. Watched her vanish beneath flame and concrete. But of course she wasn't. Of course, she would be the one pulling the strings. She always did. Jack exhaled slowly. It wasn't revenge anymore. It wasn't even rescue. It was war. And she just made it personal. The name came to Jack in a flash of memory, buried deep, like a scar he forgot he had. Ivan Dresnik. Butcher. Torturer. Traitor. Once Kira's right hand. Once Jack's too. Back then, Ivan was just muscle, sadistic, brutal, and hungry for blood. But Kira saw something in him. Fed the monster. And when everything went to hell in Prague, Ivan was the one who set the trap. Jack remembered the sound of Kira's voice in his ear, whispering goodbye. The explosion that swallowed the car. The betrayal. Now Ivan was in New York. Jack confirmed it through a black market contact known only as Glassface, a hacker with a nervous tick and a love for underground fighting streams. Paid in crypto, Glassface coughed up the location without hesitation. An illegal fight club under an abandoned brewery in Queens. Ivan had a standing seat and a stake in the blood. The club stank of sweat, beer, and money. Bare bulbs hung from chains. Crowds roared around a caged ring where 2 men pummeled each other beneath flashing lights. Jack stood in the shadows near the back, hood up, eyes sharp. Ivan was hard to miss. 6'4". Built like a wall. Shaved head. Broken nose. A scar down one cheek like a crack through concrete. He sat in a leather chair like a warlord, a girl in his lap and 2 guards at his back. Jack watched. Waited. Breathed. Then moved. The first guard didn't see the knife coming. The second raised a pistol. Jack disarmed him with a twist and drove his elbow into the man's throat, collapsing him like a folding chair. By the time Ivan stood, Jack was already inside the perimeter, knife drawn. Rourke. Ivan's voice was half grin, half gravel. Kira said you'd come. I told her she was dreaming. Then wake up, Jack said and lunged. The fight was brutal. Ivan came in heavy, wild haymakers and brute strength. Jack danced inside it, cutting, striking, relentless. Ivan landed a crushing blow to Jack's ribs, but Jack responded with a headbutt and a slash to Ivan's thigh. They crashed into the cage wall. Blood sprayed. The crowd cheered, thinking it was part of the show. But Jack didn't fight to win. He fought to break. And when Ivan was on his knees, coughing blood onto the mat, Jack grabbed a fistful of his shirt and brought his face inches from the man's broken jaw. Where is she? Ivan laughed. Even now. You're too late. Jack slammed his head into the floor. Once. Twice. Where? A gurgle. Then words. Upstate. Pine Hollow Estate. But she's not alone. She's building an army, Jack. You think this is about the girl? Kira's playing a bigger game. Always was. Jack stared down at him. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he stood, dripping sweat and blood. Let her know I'm coming. He left Ivan broken and gasping in the ring, the crowd parting like ghosts. Outside, the wind cut cold against Jack's face. He pulled the hood back, looked up at the stars. Rita was close. And so was Kira. Pine Hollow Estate sat alone on the edge of a frozen lake, tucked deep in upstate New York where the trees grew tall and the air never felt warm. It was beautiful on the outside. Wide windows, black stone walls, clean lines, a millionaire's hideout. But Jack knew better. Places like this weren't homes. They were castles built to keep people out or keep people in. He approached on foot, boots crunching softly through frostbitten leaves. Drones buzzed overhead. Guards circled the perimeter in silent formation, rifles slung casually across their chests. But they weren't the problem. She was. Kira Volkov stood at the top of the grand staircase like a queen of shadows, dressed in tailored black, blonde hair tied back like a weapon. Her expression hadn't aged, still sharp, still unreadable. Eyes like polished ice. "Jack," she said, voice like a memory. "You look older." "Wasn't planning to live this long," he replied. They stood there, across the room, the air between them thick with ghosts. "She's alive," Kira said before he could speak. "Unharmed. Federal safe." Jack didn't blink. "Where is she?" "In the East Wing. Sleeping. She doesn't even know who you were." Silence. Jack stepped forward. 2 guards raised rifles. Kira waved them off. "She's my daughter," Jack said. "No, Jack. She's your weakness." She moved slowly down the stairs, heels clicking like a clock counting down. "You disappeared. Burned your name. Left me to die in Prague. And now you come crawling back the second something precious is taken from you." He clenched his jaw. "You took her. I borrowed her. Just like you borrowed my loyalty. But I'm not here to kill you, Jack. I need you." She handed him a file, thin, clean, full of names and photos. "One last hit," she said. "Take out Semyon Dragovich, leader of the Red Serpents. He's been cutting into my ports, trying to replace me. You kill him, I give Rita back. Simple." Jack looked down at the file. He recognized Dragovich. Brutal, paranoid, but gettable. Still, something about this stank. "You could do this yourself," Jack said. Kira smiled. "Of course. But then I wouldn't get to see how far you'd go for her." She turned, walking away like the matter was settled. 3 days, she called over her shoulder. Fail, and she disappears forever. Jack stood there, fists clenched, the weight of her words pressing into his chest like a knife. This wasn't a deal. It was a leash. He spent the night in a safe house in Kingston, old concrete, thin walls, and a dusty mattress that stank of rot and mildew. He didn't sleep. He stared at the photo of Rita, snapped from a hallway camera inside the estate. Eyes closed, breathing steady, unaware the world around her was cracked and crawling with monsters. He wouldn't do the job. He'd do his job, the one he was born for. He'd burn the black cell down and walk out of the fire with his daughter. It began just before dawn. The Pine Hollow estate lay still, blanketed in a mist that clung to the trees like a warning. Inside, guards moved through corridors, sipping coffee, sharing quiet jokes. Kira's security team was confident, trained, armed, predictable. That made them vulnerable. Because Jack didn't come through the front door. He came through the forest. He started with the generator. A single shot, suppressed, shattered the fuse box behind the estate. Lights died. Alarms blinked off. In the silence, the shadows got deeper. Guards scrambled, radios clicking, voices tight with confusion. Jack moved like smoke. One by one they dropped, silent kills, pressure point strikes, knife to throat. No bullets unless necessary. No sound unless it was too late. Within 10 minutes, 6 men were down. By 20:15, he made it to the East Wing before they realized what was happening. Rita was inside a guest room, curled beneath a thick wool blanket, a children's book open beside her. Jack opened the door quietly, stepping into the room like a ghost returning to the living. She stirred. Her eyes opened, and for a second, she didn't recognize him. No beard. No smile. Just hard eyes and war on his shoulders. "Dad." He dropped to one knee beside the bed. "Yeah, it's me." Her lip trembled. "I knew you'd come." He pulled her close, held her tightly, hand trembling just slightly against the back of her head. "I'm getting you out of here." They moved fast. Jack cleared the hallway with her pressed close, covering her ears as gunfire cracked near the far stairwell. The house had awakened. Kira's private guards had formed up. Tactical gear. Automatic weapons. Military patterns. Jack used every hallway, every duct, every memory of the floor plan he'd memorized in his former life. He moved faster than they could coordinate, until she stepped into the light at the top of the grand staircase. Kira, dressed in black again, pistol in hand, expression unreadable. "You came anyway," she said. Jack held Rita behind him. "It's over." "No," Kira replied softly. "It's just beginning." She raised the gun. Jack didn't flinch, but Rita stepped out from behind him. "Why did you take me?" she asked, voice small. Kira froze. The girl's question, simple, honest, hit harder than any bullet. "I needed him," Kira said finally, lowering the weapon. "I needed him to remember who he was." "I don't want him to be that person," Rita whispered. Jack stepped forward. "I'm done," he said. "With this. With you." He didn't shoot her. Not because she didn't deserve it, but because his daughter was watching. They left the estate as the fire took hold. Jack had rigged the generator room before he entered. A slow-burn oil, wires fuel. As they stepped through the tree line into the clearing beyond, flames were already climbing the walls. Smoke poured into the pale sky. Behind them, the black cell burned. Ahead of them, freedom. Rita clung to his side. "What happens now?" Jack looked down at her, at the firelight dancing in her eyes. "Now we disappear." 2 weeks later, the ocean stretched wide and quiet before them. A small beach town on the Pacific coast. Nothing fancy, just sun-faded bungalows, gulls circling overhead, and the constant hush of waves folding into shore. Jack rented a place at the edge of the dunes. No cameras. No neighbors too close. Just a surfboard rack, a rusting pickup, and the soft smell of salt in the air. Here, he could breathe. Rita adjusted quickly. Children are made of something softer and stronger than adults. She laughed again, slept through the night, started collecting shells and drawing sea monsters on the porch. Every morning, she asked if they could walk to the water, and every time, Jack said yes. He walked beside her. Always. He never let her go alone again. Jack changed too. He still woke before dawn. Still checked the locks. Still slept with a pistol under his pillow. But his eyes were different now, not constantly scanning for threats, but watching her. Watching her live. The past didn't disappear. The ghosts never truly left. But for once, they stayed quiet. He taught Rita how to surf. She fell in love with the ocean the way some people fall in love with stories, with awe and a sense of belonging. Jack stood in the shallows, watching her paddle out, arms thin but determined. "You're not watching for sharks, are you?" she yelled once. He smirked. "I am the shark." She laughed loud and free. And Jack smiled, for real this time. That night, as the stars stitched themselves across the sky, Rita curled up beside him on the couch, a blanket draped over her shoulders. "Are we safe now?" she asked, voice small. Jack paused, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, kiddo. We're safe." "You sure?" He looked into her eyes. Saw her mother's quiet strength. Saw the part of him he thought had died long ago. "I'm sure." The ocean whispered just outside the window, endless and steady. And for the first time in a long, long time, Jack Rourke allowed himself to believe it.